Go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:17. And I would entertain a motion to recess the select board meeting until after the Board of Health meeting.
So move.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So then we'll convene a Board of Health meeting at 6:18.
Done these carte blanche.
Okay. As we noted at our last meeting, we were in fact going to contemplate the issuance of a health order at this meeting. There was an inspection done by Dr. Schaefer for the town of Townshend on the request of the current tenant. And we've invited anyone who wishes to address us this evening with information and or testimony to do so before we deliberate and decide whether or not to go ahead and issue an order. So I'll be happy to entertain any discussion.
Thank you. My name is Walter French. I'm an attorney in Dummerston. And I'm here on behalf of Amanda Thomas, whose property is the subject of the proposed health order. We have no objection to a health order issuing that addresses real and substantial problems. However, I think it's important to note that the complainant, who is conspicuously absent this evening, was at the time she complained of some of these issues, at that time was 4 months behind in rent. At which time she was given a notice to vacate for a reason of her failure to pay rent. I guess alarmed with the idea that she might have to pay rent, she instead complained of issues that had previously been unannounced. She is now 8 months in arrears and had not had complaints prior to the expiration of the period contained in the notice to vacate. We have Dr. Schaefer's inspection report, and it notes a number of issues, and I believe there are 6 in all. One is related to the complaining tenant's roof leaks. The part of the roof has been repaired, and that was repaired when it was brought to Ms. Thomas's attention. It is now claimed that the rest of the roof is leaking. It's unclear whether that's in fact the case. Dr. Schaefer notes that the ceiling was damp, but did not observe any leaks. However, beginning tomorrow, with the tenant's permission, otherwise upon 48 hours notice, the remainder of the roof is going to be replaced. The next issue has to do with what I've summarized as water infiltration. The complaining tenant has stated that the carpet is wet, frequently becomes dark and damp. Dr. Schaefer noted that the house is situated against the side hill, does not have any real foundation, only slightly raised with a nominal crawl space. He goes on to state this would appear to be a setup for moisture infiltration, but I'm not sure he has the expertise to make that conclusion. And the other observation he failed to make here is that the complainant has a dog which is kept in a cage in this room, which is rarely taken out of doors, which has repeatedly been observed to have its cage filled with urine and feces, which has leaked out of or through the cage onto the carpet, which I think we can make the conclusion that would lead to a damp and dark spotted carpet. This carpet is also, as we can offer testimony this evening, only 5 years old. The next issue was the complaint that mice often get into the kitchen. And Dr. Schaefer observed that there may be plumbing penetrations where mice could enter. He did not observe any mice, he did not observe any mouse droppings. Nonetheless, if those are there, we have no problem with sealing those penetrations. I think a can of spray foam will resolve that. Dr. Schaefer also noted that there appear to be no functioning smoke detectors or carbon monoxide detectors. Ms. Thomas has hired an electrician. The electrician has visited. Because of her work schedule and the electrician's work schedule, it's just a matter of arranging the time when he will come out and complete that work. The next issue is a little bit troubling regarding the electrical outlets in the kitchen and the bathroom not being up to code. Well, Dr. Schaefer's not here this evening, as far as I know. None of you are. I wouldn't know if I saw. Okay. We don't know what's not up to code. Clearly, he is asserting he has the expertise to look at something and say that's not up to code, but he was not specific as to what wasn't up to code, so we don't know what to fix. If there's something that's not up to code, we're more than happy to fix it. I've read a lot of these reports over the years. My guess is going to be it's a lack of GFCI outlets. If that's what it needs, happy to pop them in. Now, the next part is the troubling part, that he concludes that the overall electric service is probably inadequate because the tenant reports that using a microwave stove together with other appliance offers causes blown breakers. And one of his later recommendations is to upgrade the electric service. The rental code requires 2 outlets and a light in the kitchen, and they're there. It doesn't require any specific amperage. It doesn't require 2 circuits. It's 2 outlets and a light. And if those outlets need to be upgraded to GFCIs, that's fine. But it's not unusual to live in a home, I've lived in them, where you just learn you can't run the microwave at the same time you're running the toaster. And actually that continues to be true at my office. So, the final issue has to do with the tenant complaining of leaks and poor draining. She claims that the sewage tank is overflowed. She believes it serves 2 different houses. Yet Dr. Schaefer notes it is unknown whether the septic system is adequate in size. He did not observe any leakage. He did not observe any drainage problems. We have folks here tonight who can speak to the last time the septic system was examined. It was in fact examined because there was a backup, and that backup was traced to inappropriate items that had been flushed down the toilet in the complainant's unit, and the clog was before the tank. Nonetheless, last summer, the tank was pumped and found to be in fine shape. So, this is where I get back to the need for some specificity. If you, as the Board of Health, are going to issue a health order, we need, we need guidance as to what actually needs to be done. I think the electrical outlets is probably the most clear-cut one of all, even though Dr. Schaefer didn't specify the actual code violation. But, I mean, that's the sort of thing, if it's in violation, it's in violation. It's objective, if Dr. Schaefer saw it. A lot of the rest of this is subjective. It's self-reporting by a very disgruntled tenant who doesn't feel she should have to pay rent. We are joined here by 3 other tenants from the what do we call it? The property, the compound, who are here to speak their support for what Amanda has done since she literally inherited this as a problem, which I don't think she had any intention of taking on at this point in time. I think they can all speak to the fact that when there have been problems, she has been attentive to them. They can also speak to some of the qualities of the complainant here. Roger, whose last name I did not catch.
Can I just
Yes.
get all names for the record, since
Sure.
I'm taking the minutes?
Let's do
If we
that.
just go down the line. You're Amanda
Yes, Thomas.
Thomas, okay?
James Wilson.
James Wilson,
Roger Decatur.
D-C-A-T-U-R?
No. C-A-T-O.
C-A-T-O, okay.
It was the other.
And I'm sorry, Roger, your last name was Thompson. I'm sorry, last name was James
Wilson.
Wilson.
No, this is a good one. Daniel
Yeah,
Swart Figure, just the way it's out.
S-
S-W-O-R-T
okay.
Figure, like figure skating. F-I-G-U.
Okay.
UER.
U-E-R.
Okay,
Michelle, with one L.
yep,
McNamee. M-C-N-A-M-E-E.
E-E. Okay, thank you very much.
So I don't know what would be the board's preference to hear from these folks, but I think it's a meaningful sign that they're taking time out of their evening to come down here in support of Amanda, who is now their landlord, who have actually lived there long enough. They've watched her grow up, and they are proud of the way that she has taken over the role of her father. And so what more can we tell you?
Anyone have any questions?
You said the roof, that one leaky part had been repaired. Do you remember when that was done?
Yes, that was done last fall.
Last
I
fall?
did it myself.
And that's gonna be, you're gonna replace the whole roof or?
No, this is, the whole main house I redid. It's a little shed roof that I wasn't aware of that leaked, that we have the roll roofing there. It will be on there tomorrow.
That's all, that's gonna be taken care of.
That'll be on there tomorrow.
With her permission.
With her permission, I'm sorry.
And then you have an electrician coming in to do the smoke detectors and carbon monoxide.
Yes.
Do you know when that's happening?
He came this past Friday to do an initial walkthrough, and I got a voicemail from him tonight in regards to what he found and saw, so we just need to speak to come up with a date when he's gonna come back.
Can somebody speak to the septic system and how many that serves and how that?
I can answer those questions. I was there when we dug it up. I helped dig it up.
Yeah.
It's a concrete tank. It serves 2 houses, which is completely adequate. And
3 tenants total.
yeah,
How big's the tank?
1,500 gallon. And when they pumped it out, they pumped less than 400 gallons. It was over 3, but less than 400. And the guy from Doors said, well, you don't need to do this quite so often. Hence, after that, we found the clog within the perimeters of the tenant's building due to non-biodegradable material
Yeah.
being flushed.
When the electrician comes to do the smoke detectors and stuff, can he just check that electrical system? I mean, there's not a problem with that, just having him look at it and see what his recommendations are, how that, I mean, I personally feel comfortable if we get a letter or something from the electrician saying it's inspected and it's safe and okay, you know. I guess personally, my problem would be if we didn't address this just because it has been brought to our attention, and then the house gets an electrical fire or something tomorrow, you know, whose face gets crapped on. So, if we can get something from the electrician, just to look at it and see what he says, because again, I'm non-professional, I don't know how any of that is, but I certainly trust the professionals to do that. I think that's all the questions that I have. I don't know whether somebody else has other, yeah, I mean, that's all I have.
Did you have anything?
If I may.
No, the only thing, check with the electrician, because maybe if you don't have a ground fault near the sink, or in the bathroom, wherever the water is, you don't have a ground fault circuit, that may be what he's referring to. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's what I see most often in
Yeah.
these reports.
But I say, I just had to check that.
Yep.
Do you have any timeline for the completion of these different projects that you started to address?
Well, the roofing will be done, as I said, it'll either commence tomorrow morning, or if she complains, we'll have to give 48 hours notice, and it'll commence on Wednesday or Thursday, so.
That'll take a couple of days, maybe, not even.
Probably 4 or 5 hours. It's just a small road shed roof, it's 8 by 12.
And then you
And it
said,
is leaking in now, right?
I don't know. I'm just the maintenance man. I don't go in and prod around because she's not a very nice person.
Well, if these issues are there, I haven't been able to look either. And I guess there's some question as to the validity of some of that too, so.
and then you said the electrician contacted you this evening.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what time schedule that might involve?
I don't, unfortunately, at this point. I'm planning on calling him first thing tomorrow morning to see if we can get a date. Yeah.
Anybody else have anything, any questions? Do you have anything else you would like to say?
I would like to say something, if I may, regarding, I have the dubious distinction of having been there with the dog. I went over one night, I got a call, I was the only one around, Roger wasn't there, and they said the water stopped. So I went over with my flashlight. I looked to see whether or not the valves were all in order, which they were, everything was fine. And Roger had mentioned to us and to Amanda and to everybody that we're gonna need a new pump for the thing. And the minute Amanda found out about it, Johnny on the spot, that new pump is in. Less than a day. We heard about it on a Sunday, Monday it was in, we had water. That's one thing. Now in terms to talk about the moisture, I have the nicest and the happiest distinction of letting you all know that the dog peed on me. And I can guarantee you that is where it's coming from. And I looked at her and I said, oh, he does it all the time. I said, what? I said, what are you talking about? And as it's laid out, she sleeps in one room. It's a tiny little cottage and her daughter is right there too. And the dog goes insane. So it's very hyper and they don't let it out. So that's where the moisture's coming from.
I think Roger, from his experience there, could perhaps speak to whether there's similarly, if there's any moisture or any indication that moisture is coming from beneath the floor.
There isn't.
And the drainage around the cottage.
The drainage around the cottage is quite adequate and keep it weed-whacked. There's not much sun out there. If need be, we can put gutters down the back of the roof. You know, if there were a piece or it doesn't need it, but it could be done to a piece.
But we would, strenuously oppose an order that would suggest that Amanda is responsible for removing, quote-unquote, the chronically sodden carpet, when by all indications it's chronically sodden, not for any fault of her own. And I bring that up because that was one of Dr. Schaefer's recommendations.
Okay, anything else from anybody? then I will take entertain a motion to move into a deliberative session under 1 VSA section 310.5 to discuss the issuance of a health order.
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Eric? Aye. Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't hear that. Motion passes. So, we're going to recess for probably 5-10 minutes just to kind of discuss what we've heard. And then we'll come back with some kind of a decision recommendation. And then we'll move forward from there. If that's okay with everybody? So, Craig, you can stay here because you're going to take minutes.
Okay, yeah, we're going in at 7:38.
Yes, please. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
So we're going to come back into session at 6:45. And it's the consensus of the Board of Health that we're going to allow you 30 days to address the issues of the electrical service. Having your electrician come in and check the system itself and install the CFIs if necessary to get the roof fixed, particularly that flat roof over the bedroom, and to see to the installation of the smoke and the carbon dioxide detector. That will come in the form of a written order that will be delivered to you. And after 30 days, if those issues haven't been, we'll need some kind of proof that those issues have been addressed. And then we'll hold the order. Okay, if not, then you know what the next step is. The next step is we get to go to court. Ooh. So yes, we'll get that out most probably in the next day or two.
Next day.
We're a little backed up at the moment with our crisis down the road. But yes, we'll get that out as soon as we can. But you're well aware, you've already put a lot of these remedies into the works now.
Seems like you're gonna do it anyhow.
Yeah, so we're just gonna make it formal, we're gonna formalize it, and then once you come back with the proof that you've done these things, we'll be good. Okay, thank you.
30 days will bring me to the beginning of September. I'll get a letter out to you tomorrow, probably tomorrow or Wednesday. The health inspector will have to come back out, and he can call in advance on that. But if we can get some verification from your electrician, if things are, this is what he did, and things are basically okay at this point, then that will go a long, long way. The board will meet probably around the 8th of September. Well, the 7th is Labor Day. It'll probably won't be on the 7th. I don't know. They'll have
We
to,
haven't
that's
decided that.
too far in the future. Yeah.
Don't give us a deadline on this.
Yeah, no, we're not. It's,
So, unless you have something else for us, that we'll adjourn the meeting of the Board of Health at 6:47. Okay? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay, so we're going to reconvene the select board meeting at 6:48. And the next item on the agenda would be an executive session.
Under,
Oh, you're gonna make me look
knew you were
at,
gonna do that.
I don't care, 1, 2.
that's a Martin motion? Must be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me get you right away.
Seconded by Earl.
1 VSA 3-313.
Let's do it under 313A3,
Which is?
the evaluation of a public officer or employee.
Seconder, yeah.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
And who's coming in?
Oh, that's right. I guess we're inviting Anita Bean, Joe Dano, Craig Hahn, and the board. Okay? All right. So all those in favor of going into executive session, say aye. Opposed? abstentions, motion passes.
So,
You
You
need,
gotta wait till we go into executive.
no, I think he needs something before that.
Oh,
Yeah, I need a reconcile general ledger statement of amendments, sheets in January and June.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that has to do with executive session.
Okay.
I understand that, but it should.
So we're gonna call, we're gonna come out of executive session at 7:51. And is there a resolution that the board would like to put forth in the way of a motion?
Well, I don't know, did we need to motion that?
Is there a resolution?
I think, as a resolution or result of our executive session, that Kathy, the chair board, is gonna contact NIMRIC tomorrow and seek urgency of training for municipal bookkeeping for Chris. I think we have addressed our concerns and issues with Chris, and she's certainly understanding of where we're at and looking for help and ready to do that. So in light of the inability to get NIMRA, we would call Vermont Leagues and see where we can get some training immediately, right? That's what I think.
All right. Then we'll move on.
You're okay with that, right, Chris? That's, yeah.
Then we'll move on to the approval of minutes for July 16th, or 6th, 2015.
I make a motion that we suspend approving the minutes of July 6th, 14th, and 20 until a full board is present. I just have a concern that if the other two board members have an opportunity to review this, and there may be something in there that they're misquote, I don't know if that, see what I mean?
Okay, that's fine.
That's,
That's gotta be a motion.
Yeah, this motion to
yes,
suspend.
to suspend approval of the minutes of July 6th.
Seconder?
14th,
Sure.
and 20.
Any discussion?
Yep.
Hearing none, all those in favor of suspending the approval of the minutes until there's a full board, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Additions and deletions, we've got a boatload of correspondence.
I did not list, but I can.
Yeah,
You've
well,
got it.
I'm gonna list it.
Okay.
We've got a letter from the state of Vermont concerning the transfer station. We have a letter from Walter Minor. We have a letter from the Brattleboro Retreat. And we have a letter from Pamela Bell. And then we need to delete, under members of the public, Drew Hazelton will not be here this evening. He's involved in the,
Yeah,
yeah,
They're down in the gymnasium, seems.
Okay, well then, he will reschedule them for the 15th. Although you will probably be getting a copy of a request for the 250 approval for the town services. So that 250 application can go, and that'll probably be in your box between meetings. I think that was all the additions and deletions. Anybody else?
The letter from Walt Myers was actually listed under new business as sidewalk repair, but you do have a letter, I'm not gonna itemize it here, from Bartlett.
That's
And you do have
town
a- and
common
you do have-
trees update.
And you,
Yeah.
right, that's also on the agenda, and you do have a letter from Jeff Delury, which is also on the agenda under highway report.
That's
Well,
right.
you also have errors and omissions, which is on the agenda. I just tried to hit the ones that weren't.
Yeah. No, I just meant in terms of new correspondence today.
It was a busy day.
Yeah, Delury was on here, and so was Bartlett. Sure.
Okay, so no other additions and deletions? All right. Reports, highway, we did receive, or you should have a copy of the Cargill bid.
Yep.
I
Is
spoke
this, oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I spoke with Clerk earlier, he wasn't, he could have made it tonight, we can call him if necessary, but he had many other things to do. He did give me a quick update, he had seen the Cargill, it apparently got emailed to him. It's at $80 and change, I'd have to find it.
8180.
He would like to hold off, but we're gonna need to do a contract sometime before the end of the month, so probably at the next meeting, but he'd like to make a few phone calls on this.
You gotta calculate it, I can use.
We'll have to calculate the use compared to last year and,
Do you have one I could use?
calculator, yeah. sure.
Just watch out,
I'm sorry.
there's one that the 3 doesn't work in. I found that out.
You know how this compares to last year?
It's up
8180?
$2.50, $60, something like that.
Is that what we used last year, 500 tons?
No.
Oh, no.
How
We
much
were
did
at, we were at 740 and change, almost 750. We capped it at 500. And then there was emergency approval for another 100 or so, and then we did another 150 after that, or roughly. But we were 740, 745.
So you're like at 850 tons.
No, 740, 745 was
Yeah,
about
but then
where.
you ordered extra, you said.
Oh, no, that was the total. All total.
750 tons.
Yeah, call 750. It'd be pretty close.
Well, I think we
Yeah,
need to
but
have, before we can make that kind of commitment, we need to discuss
Oh, I'm not ready.
the amount of salt that's going down on the roads.
That's right, because we're up at $62,000 just for salt.
And that's about what was spent last year, a little less than
And
that.
that's 80 tons a
Yeah.
mile.
And for, yes, it's 80 and change. But for every bit of salt you put down, you also put down sand. So, I mean, and sand is a lot cheaper, but it does add up pretty quick.
Well, just, I think we'll wait for Kurt, because there needs to be some discussion on the whole process, how that works.
Yeah.
Not salting and then plowing it right off and that kind of thing. So-
Well, you do a contract so that you pre-order it, they deliver it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start getting toward the limits of that order, then it gets,
Oh,
you need to start spreading it thinner.
right. Okay.
Okay?
But
Then,
I do have other things to address in the report if you're in highway
And
report.
we are.
Yeah, go ahead.
He indicated, Irvin had a discussion with him about the Grafton Athens Road culvert up there. He said that's exactly where it was, the one they replaced up there. Apparently, he thought that you thought, or you said, or something, that maybe it was shifted or moved or something like that. He went and re-looked at it, and it's, I guess, according to him, where it's supposed to be. He would like to order some hot patch for the culverts they just replaced at your house and just up in front of Sleepers, just to cover up the gravel that's there.
You gotta dig that gravel down before you put that hat patch in.
Yep, it's gonna have to be back down, but he would like to do
No, but I
that.
say you can't leave it up there and then put the patch over top of it. You gotta take it a couple inch or two down,
Right,
put
but
hot
we'll,
mix.
and we'll get to the line of credit here shortly, but the board has not, it's basically been tabled, the paving of that lower section at this point. And probably will be until at least the next meeting. I have a list. Should look at the list. Cargo. We'll be talking about the Sterling truck in a minute. Deer Ridge apparently is supposed to go next week, from what I understand. Golden Sons is gonna be up on Deer Ridge Road doing the culvert next week. I've talked to Rice Tree Service, they'll be finishing up the project beginning on Friday and then staying here until it's done. Shouldn't be more than 3 or 4 or 5 days, but there are a couple of big trees to do out. And that's it. He needs to buy a few more culverts because they're out of 14 or 18 inch right now. And get a few of those. But basically Bob's all set. He's got a couple of big projects at the garage that he can handle himself. And has a list of things to do while he and Ed, or while Kurt and Ed are not there for the next day or two. And other than that, things have been going okay.
I have a couple of things to do. Number one, I did see that the gate has been installed up there, but I see that it hasn't been closed.
He requested, well, he's
So,
looking to get 2 more concrete blocks, like the blocks they're putting in up at Deer Ridge, those yard blocks, I guess. Apparently he needs to brace the gate posts or secure them somehow because the gate is not secure. The way it's dug in or the way it's anchored. He's looking for a couple of more guard posts in order to make the gates effective. They haven't been used in the last 10 days or so since they've been installed, but they are in. And he said he was going to be looking for a couple more blocks to make them functional.
Anything else?
Yeah, there was, but I don't remember what it was, because I was listening to the gate thing.
I see they done some ditch work over on the state forest road, but I hope they don't run into the problem that we had before.
Okay.
Because the bank, we had to close that road one winter because the bank gave away and they dug the stones out that we pushed into it. But they say it froze, but the biggest problem is with their wing, they clean every bit of snow right off the goddamn ditch, that's why they freeze. We'll see what happens this winter.
I happened to be up over the back road to Wyndham yesterday, and, just beyond, what's the name where the apple orchard used to be?
Down the Antaya?
You know, on the top.
Yeah, down the
Yeah,
Antaya.
just beyond that, there's apparently a hole in the road, they got a stick in it,
Okay.
and they got a red piece of plastic tape on it, and it's really right in the.
So you got a washout on the side of the road and it's
No,
flat.
there's a hole in the road.
In the road.
They got a stick in that hole, I don't know if they did it or somebody else did.
Might be a culvert or something that's got a hole
Well,
in
there's
it.
a hole and somebody put a stick in it and it's got a red ribbon on it,
Well,
and
you
it's
remember-
almost,
You remember driving ancient roads last year
and
and
it's in,
looking at
almost in
culverts.
the same spot,
Okay.
the same problem. I think
Well,
that,
if Rob were here as a commissioner, he could address that, but I can ask Bob about it tomorrow morning, on back when I know about where that probably is.
it's the same problem area, I thought that had been rectified, but
They went,
there's a hole right in the road.
they went up that way somewhere with a backhoe,
Well, they might have did it today, I don't,
but
just,
I don't know for sure
the-
where they was headed.
Is there anything else on the highway report?
yes, well, on the highway discussion, we were gonna talk about, purchase orders, and that all purchase orders need to come through.
Do you wanna do that under highway, or do you wanna do it just under general warrants?
Either way, I don't care, doesn't matter
Because
to me when you do it.
it needs to involve, if we're gonna put a policy into place,
Yeah.
it needs to be everything.
Yep.
Not-
So you
not
do it
just
on
the
warrants,
highway.
I don't, that's fine.
Okay,
Whatever you
so
wanna do.
then is there anything else under highway?
Do you wanna discuss this, Sterling truck sale at this
That's
point?
the next piece.
Aha.
So, anything
I'm
else under
sorry.
the report? Okay, then you all have a proposal from Jeff Delory on the sale of the Sterling. Was there any information that came forward from Kurt about this proposal?
Yes, Kirk talked to Jeff about the proposal. You'll see on the proposal that Jeff is offering about $2,000 less than he offered last year. He gives his reasons for that in here. Kurt's opinion is that yes, it's a different hood. Patriot and the insurance company got the hood they could get, and it doesn't have the access panel in it, access door in it. I don't know how much that changes the valuation of the truck. It's all been repainted and a lot of work has been done on it. That having been said, I don't know if I concur. I probably concur. Kurt believes that a sale of the truck to a dealer like Delory, who is going to resell it with at least a 90-day, 120-day, 6-month, 3-month, whatever warranty on it, is better than the town can offer. And that if we put it into serious ads in one of the magazines or locally, or took it down to the good auction house that we have on the south side of town, that we probably wouldn't realize $30,000, and we might sit on it well into the fall. So, Kurt's opinion is that it's probably as good a deal as you're gonna get.
In my opinion, is that when this all came down and the truck had to go in for repair and Delory's demanded the refund of the check, that they assured us in no uncertain terms that they were going to pay the 32, whatever it was, upon completion for their truck repairs.
No, it
I
says,
think that note is
Or-
attached.
it's attached, it's the second page.
Yeah.
And it's that last statement. With that said, when I finally take delivery of the trade,
Mhm.
I expect it to be in the same shape as it was at date of sale 10/2014.
Mhm.
And he's claiming in the front, in the top letter, that in fact it's another year older and it's not in the same shape. Just saying,
Just saying,
just saying.
I think fairness is fairness, and I think that shows where the guy's being in mind. Just saying.
Just saying.
I don't think he's standing behind his word. That's what I think of him. I don't either. I don't think Delury's standing behind his word. Says he values the town of Townsend's business. I don't think so. That's my opinion.
So then,
Anybody else can say what they want.
I was gonna say, do we have a motion? Do we have any thoughts? Which pleasure?
Again, and I hate to delay this at all, but I think that you have to, because the truck could be another year older again, but I think you have to have the rest of the board here to make,
Well,
for their input. I mean, I don't know where they're at. Unfortunately, with tonight's incident with Valley Cares, we don't have the full board. And I've said my opinion.
Okay, well, I just want to reiterate that, on the trade-in on that truck, when we got into the contractual issues with,
This is a contract that was defective from.
It was defective contract from the beginning.
well, it wasn't, I want to know, I'm not going to go into that, but when Tenco.
I'll go into it.
When Tenco took too long to build that body on the new truck, quite frankly, the board made the recommend, not even a recommend, it was a mandate that Sterling be parked and it go within 30 days, it go back to Delury's. And Delury wrote a letter basically saying, oh, no, you can continue to use it because your new truck's not ready. Now, while that was very kind because we had a very difficult winter, it also led to the incident that caused the wreck of the truck.
$18,000.
But that goes right back to, you're splitting your goddamn bids. Excuse the language, but that's just what it is. Instead of one bid to cover everything.
Don't pay for it until it's delivered.
That's why I
That's right.
said it's a mess to begin with.
Yeah.
However, I think that, and I said that was one of my concerns way back when we returned the check to Delury's to start with. That I said, you mark my words, when it comes time, they're not gonna give you that full 32. I would have bet the farm.
And there's argument that
There
the
it
truck
is.
is, there's argument that
I
the
know,
truck is
I
in better
understand.
shape now than
It
it
is in
was
better
back
shape than it
3
was
months
then.
ago.
Yeah. Yep.
So is there a motion to table this then until we have a full meeting, or full board?
Your next meeting is the 17th. You're gonna have to sell a plow truck before October 1st, and in my opinion, I don't know if
I need some direction here, what do you want to do with this truck?
anybody looking is gonna be looking now.
No, I think that you have to wait for the full board. That's my opinion.
So is that a motion to table it until the full board can convene?
Yep.
Yes?
That's what he said.
Okay.
You seconding that, Kit? Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. So, Craig, be sure that's on the next agenda, please.
It's been on the
I know it's been on the agenda
I know.
for,
I just don't think
I
it's
don't know
fair
how
of
many
Delory.
years.
I don't think it's fair of them at all.
okay, the paving projects,
And remember that next time we buy a truck.
the Grafton Road B section and the East Hill Road, which we did not award.
Those were tabled contingent
Right.
upon line of credit, and that has not been received. There is an application in to People's Bank for a line of credit. We have heard from them that it looks like we're gonna have need of a line of credit this fall, and they've requested further information, which has been forwarded. And hoping for an answer today, which did not come. And maybe Joe can follow up sometime this week if we don't get something volunteer from them. But further information has been emailed up and faxed up to them.
So again, I'm not sure what the stipulation was on those bids, how long they were good for, whether 30 days or whatever.
I don't either, but I think, you know, in here again is an example of the difficulty we're having with being sure of what monies are where and how that's all
Right.
misconstrued in our inability to,
Well,
so far, to secure a line of credit, which I've never heard of, but
Joe talked to the banker, and I think, didn't he indicate that the money would be available October if we needed it, kind of thing? I would like to have the insurance for the board right now, so that if you need to spend money in August or September, we need to pre-buy the salt or the sand or whatever, so that we don't get all the way to October before you feel confident in spending. You need to make commitments right now.
but you can't make commitments
Unless you
have
know-
accurate numbers and unless you're assured
That there's gonna be money in the
get a
bank.
line of credit. You can't do that.
Right.
You just can't. There's no way.
And
You
as it looks-
can't sign a salt agreement, you can't sign a sand agreement, you can't do paving
With current-
until those books are all reconciled, we know where the money stands and we know
With
where our
current,
line
with
of
current
credit is.
obligations, you're
Can't do
gonna
it.
be in the hole in October.
Yeah, but all indications aren't gonna mean anything. We have to
No,
make
but
sure.
I'm saying, with current
Right.
obligations, you're gonna be in the hole in October, and I well understand and counsel you against making further commitments. However, now is the time that commitments need to be made.
Well, if you can't make it, you can't make it. It's gonna cost you more money in the long run because it's gonna be on the contract done. That's the importance of having this money situation straightened out. You ain't got it. I make a motion that we table awarding the bid on Grafton Road B in East Hill until such time we are assured that we have a line of credit.
Okay, that's a continuation of the motion
Yes.
that's presently there, but yeah.
Okay, so is there a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So yes, please put that back on the agenda
Mhm.
again. Law enforcement, we did not receive anything because
We didn't get a countersigned contract from state, but they've been very good about calling us with regard to the incident next to the pharmacy and other things that they have been up to, but there's still paperwork forthcoming from them with regard to the contract.
okay. Town
They have, let me just interject here, they have expressed a will to discuss anything that the select board has that has need of for law enforcement. If you have an issue that you know about, or if you have a, what do I want to say, a focus for them, whether it be traffic or whether it be, I don't know, whatever, name something, think of something, they're more than willing to discuss that and try to accommodate. So they're reaching out to say that they can tailor their time to whatever you perceive to be the needs of the community.
You know, I will say that I've had a chance a couple of times to speak personally with different troopers, and they've always asked, is there any concerns? They know I'm on the select board. Any concerns, how can we help, what's going on? So I certainly
Been
appreciate,
up this way a lot lately.
well, I certainly appreciate their
Is that
attention.
Mr.
I do.
Well, and I like to, I personally appreciate the outreach to say, do you have any issues that we should have, you know,
I do too.
in the headlight?
Yep.
All right, councilors, you all got over-the-counter money and
Yeah.
accounting of that. So treasurer Joe,
Yes, I took your checking account balance, subtracted the number you had last
Reserves.
in reserves, 161,800, I subtracted that. So now you have, my figure, you have $339,113.52. And I've got about 50,000 to go in the bank.
Right. Now, we have, you took reserves out of that. Did you take the encumbrances for our share of the paving and?
No, I
No,
didn't
no.
monkey with that.
So there are more, I mean, that's,
You
So
have
some of
liability, you
that-
have liabilities forthcoming. You
liabilities
have obligations,
forthcoming and obligations out of that money, right?
Which is gonna put you in the hole.
It's gonna put us in the hole.
Yes.
Because pretty quick, you're gonna have school payments coming up.
Yeah.
Not until
Even-
after, yeah,
Till when?
not until after the taxes come in on the
We
28th.
hope not.
20 days after the 28th.
Just to make sure. Pardon me?
17th or 18th of September.
Is the school, right?
Yeah.
And that's how much, that's a,
By law, it's 20 days after receipt of tax payments that
you
you
know how
have to.
much that payment is?
You're gonna be looking at the better part of $600,000 combined between Leland and Gray and Townsend Elementary.
Five something.
Yeah,
Okay, so.
580 something, 590.
The warrants. Let's go ahead and put that up front on the table, what you started to talk about earlier with the purchase order system.
Oh, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that's what
Yes, sir.
I'm
Didn't lose your voice.
We put in place a policy for purchase order forms that anything needed to go through Craig for purchase orders before buying, am I correct?
That's the gist of it, yes. Yes.
Is that happening?
It is not at the moment, no.
So I think, my belief is that we need to demand that happens, especially from the highway department, before we start buying extra sand and salt and nuts and bolts and screws.
Well, I would clarify your request in that that's pre-approval. In other words, before the
Yes.
purchase is made, not
Not after.
submitting a form saying, I've already bought this, which
No.
is kind of where we are right now.
And I don't know if that goes hand in hand that we need to notify
Vendors?
the vendors that all orders must be accompanied by a copy of the purchase order or something like that. I hate to have to go to that, but it seems that.
That's
we've been-
actually, most of that is in place with the larger vendors, that a purchase order number is required. But a purchase order book has been basically given to the highway department, and they've actually been fairly responsible in using that, keeping track. They have also not been spending very much lately. Of course, we're just starting the new year and there's very little, it's $300,000 in cash. There's not much spending going on now that's outside of the routine or fairly large. The problem with the purchase order system and why it is to some degree devolved is that in order to have a purchasing agent, I need the lead time, or he or she needs the lead time in order to effectively buy stuff. You can't get something tomorrow at a good price. You can get it expediently shipped in, you can get it from the same old vendors. But if you're gonna go looking for something, you do need a few days or a week lead time. You need part numbers, you need the parameters that you're looking to satisfy. The second part of that is, and the bigger part of that is, the board needs to be adamant, if it's gonna reinstate this policy with any effect, that warrants that come through that are basically not signed off on as emergency or don't have a purchase order number on them are basically something that you need to set aside and discuss further with whoever did the purchasing, or, you know, why was this done, or why is this out of the system? And come to address those issues.
Which is part of why I wanted to discuss this tonight, because there are a number of purchases being made, we're getting warrants for, and it's like, we don't know, like the one you talked about, that cost us $2 for the part,
$2 in parts and 11 for shipping?
11 for shipping, and it could have been, I mean, it's just that kind of thing. So I think that we need to enforce our policy, and that's just my opinion, so.
Well, I think one of the easiest ways to address that is to just basically leave instructions that in fact those warrants are not to hit the table on a pay warrant until such time as it's been clarified. So in other words, if we have we'll have our pre-approved packages here to approve at any given meeting, and then we'll have another one here that'll have bills that don't have purchase orders or did not have pre-approval that we can either address with the individuals here or we can address after the meeting as to why they did not go through the system. But I think we're gonna have to start playing hardball.
And it may be clumsy for a cycle or two, a month or two. It may be clumsy because people are being denied payment and it goes beyond 2 weeks, 30 days, whatever. I would remind the board that there is a carte blanche We pay our credit card bills. We pay those things which will generate interest and penalty if we don't pay them. But for regular vendors, I think you can stretch it out past 30 days and make this system work. Payroll obviously goes every 2 weeks. You sign after the fact. Credit card bills and one or two other things do get paid on a regular basis. You do see check stubs. But most of these, you're seeing it after the fact and you're approving payment. And if you withhold payment, things will change. The vendor will change it, or the buyer who's not following a system will change the habit.
So are we in agreement that in fact we're going to put some teeth into this policy and enforce it?
I agree.
I agree with that, because we got stuff up in that shop.
And it, but
Well,
it's not
you
just
and I'll
that.
talk about that privately.
I know, but I say it shouldn't have been.
And I understand that, but it further goes, I mean, here we are in this dilemma of trying to reconcile and figure out where we're standing financially, and it just keeps, it's a quagmire.
You don't.
Quite frankly, the whole financial thing to me, when I look at it, and I've looked at many financial situations on the town for many years, it's, I don't know, like, it's like you can't figure it out, and I touch it and I'm in a tar baby again. And I think that part of that needs to be done for the purchase order, or something, we gotta do something to get it straightened out, that's all,
Okay,
all right?
okay. So that's moving on to the warrants. Somebody's got them, I'm gonna have to read them.
I make a motion for, warrant number 72010.
It's gonna be payroll.
And for, no, it's not, actually. It's accounts, I'm just trying to figure out next year invoices for town fund, town general fund,
No, I think we got the wrong number there.
right there.
7-2, that's 3 weeks old. That's gotta be one you withheld, isn't it?
It's 72010.
Yeah.
That's what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, these
That
are
was
the,
tabled last time,
The-
or,
no,
I'm
no,
sorry, no, okay.
these are the tax
They're in
over.
this pile here.
These are tax overpayments, which I was gonna try to ask you.
Right, and I'll explain it.
But I'll
when we get
move, first move the report.
to- So the number,
My apologies, 72010.
no, 72010,
720.
in the amount of,
$694.15. Say second or.
Yeah, I'll say it. But I didn't find that number on it.
Is that right? Is that correct?
yeah, that's,
72010.
All right.
so is there,
Town general fund for $694.15. It's a total of tax overpayments.
okay, so now the discussion.
Yes.
I'm aware of those. Those are in fact individuals that a prebate came down for. The prebate exceeded their tax bill. So those people actually received a check from the town for the difference between their tax bill and what the state sent down as a prebate.
Is that homestead, you mean?
Yes.
So their homestead payment exceeds what their tax bill
Correct.
is.
Correct.
That's not your case.
That's not my case. How do you get that to be your case?
Well, somebody has to
How do we
underwrite
get
all
more
these
than the
people
total
who
bill?
get a bigger prebate than they
Because
actually owe to begin with,
the-
and then we cough up cash to pay them the
The
difference.
the prebates are figured based on their income and the formula that they use for education.
Must be under the wrong end.
Yeah, you're in the wrong end of it. But no, those individuals, they, actually, there was more money that came down from the state, it exceeded the amount of their tax bill.
Yeah.
So is there any further discussion on that?
Got more money than I got.
Me too.
Hearing none, all those in favor of approving warrant, 16,
No, 72010. Says. Check warrant report number, 72010.
not even on the sheet. How does that number?
wrong number. See, that's what's happening. It just,
Yeah. Okay, so all those
That's what I said, I couldn't find it.
all those in favor of paying warrant 72010
694.
for the town general fund in the amount of $694.15 signify by saying aye.
I
Get?
hate you.
I hate to, I'm telling you.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
See, I'm just concerned about not having the right numbers and stuff. It just, I make a motion to approve warrant number 80301, town payroll in an amount of $8,811.80.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving payroll warrant 80301 in the amount of $8,811.80 signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move we approve warrant number 80302, payroll taxes in the amount of $3,398.41.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying warrant 80302, which is payroll taxes in the amount of $3,398.41, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
And warrant number 80303, $4,210 from the town general fund.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Into a penny figure on that?
Oh wait, $4,210.08. Correct.
Okay.
I second it.
No, okay. Any
No,
discussion?
okay,
Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant 80303 in the amount of $4,210.08 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
yeah.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes.
Joe, has this been subtracted from your total bank thing? The total you gave us?
Yeah.
Hasn't yet, right? Right. Just to say, because, you know, when we read what we got in the bank and then we spend how many $1,000, it doesn't include, we don't have it, you know? 80304, the highway fund, $2,659.28.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying warrant 80304 from Town Highway Fund in the amount of $2,659.28 signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Warrant number 80305, the town equipment fund, $696.64.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying warrant 80305 from the Town Equipment Fund in the amount of $696.64 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Warrant number 72001, town payroll. Oh, goes back, right?
This is the
This
one,
is
this
the
is the
one.
one that we had issues
Yeah.
with, the double billing that we
The
wanted to
double
get
billing, we
yes.
had issues. $8,298.27.
Is there a
Second.
second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving warrant 72001 in the amount, or payroll, in the amount of $8,298.27 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And 72002,
Motion passes.
72002, Townsend payroll taxes, $3,252.06.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving warrant 72002,
Me too.
payroll taxes in the amount of $3,252.06, signify by saying aye.
Yeah.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. All right, so that piece of paper is over. Got it done.
Can we go back to highway for a minute? I knew what I was gonna ask.
Okay, yes.
I don't want to, but I will.
Okay, go ahead, go back to
I
highway.
just wanted to go back to highway, and maybe it's probably better if Kurt were here, but we spend, you look at the warrants, we spend a lot of money for Hunter North, for traffic, when they're putting in culverts and that sort of thing. I do know Joe's approved to do traffic flagging,
Mostly a fireman.
And most of the fire
and most of the fire department is. Although those guys usually, they're out working or something, but it seems like, and the highway guys are anyhow, right? Aren't they certified to do flagging?
They're supposed to be.
It just seems like instead of spending several $1,000s a year on hiring Hunter North to do flagging, that with a little bit of checking around, we could find a way to save a little bit of highway money with flaggers. And I guess that's better discussed when Kurt is here, but when I just approved paying Hunter North, what, $6 and $8 and $1,200 or whatever it was, it seems to me as though we can do a little bit better than that somewhere. I might be wrong, but that's what I was.
It's a necessary service, but you don't get anything for it. I mean, there's nothing that shows, other than safety on the job,
Okay,
but it's
so,
expensive.
if you want to go ahead.
Okay.
Then moving on to correspondence, we're gonna run down that list, what? Yeah. What order do we wanna do them in? Let's start with the easy one, which would be the Pam bill. This one, it just came in today. This is, as you recall at the last meeting, we had an errors and omissions request that we did approve. We approved the first one, and that was for a piece of property that had the grade was incorrect on. And we decided to go ahead and approve that. This is a letter from the individual who owns that property. And it's a 2-page letter. I don't really want to read the whole thing.
I don't think you need to.
But essentially, the request is relevant on the back page. She says, I am now writing to request that you make this change retroactive to last year's taxes, since they have not been paid and has been placed, and it has placed such an enormous burden on me. I'm still paying the loan I obtained last year for the $2,500. The fact is, I have been overpaying taxes to a substantial degree for many years. I tried to talk to Becky Nystrom about the problem, to which she offered me no avenues for reconsideration,
That's yours.
but instead told me that it would be going to tax sale if I did not get the delinquent years paid. To add insult to injury, I have also had to pay Becky the penalties and interest for monies I never actually owed in the first place. I'm only asking for these taxes to be retroactive to last year's tax bill and to have the penalties and interest removed as well. I recognize it's not be an easy decision for you to make, but I'm not asking for reimbursement for all the years I have overpaid these taxes, but for last year's taxes only.
I received that today. I sent Kathy an email. I got it wrong, thinking it was the wrong errors and omissions, but I don't believe that the board can make anything retroactive.
I don't either.
I don't, no, I don't.
This is a simple case, open, close kind of a.
I just think that you need to refer the thing to Board of Civil Authority.
I think you have to go through the grievance process before you can get to civil authority, don't you? I think you have to run the grievance, and then if you're disgruntled with the grievance opinion, then you're entitled to do civil authority. But in any case, the select board certainly can't make something retro. You closed out the year, you can't attack back taxes or change delinquent taxes. That's already in other hands right now. I mean, just from a legal point of view, sympathetic as you may be to the case.
So basically, I just think we need some kind of direction
Well, that's.
to have somebody to respond to the letter, because it is addressed to the select board. As with the other letter. that
But
was
we don't
addressed.
have the authority to do that.
No,
We just don't.
nobody has the authority to do
I
it.
mean, you can respond to her by saying, we. do
You've
not
done
know.
all you could. She approached the lister's office appropriately.
Yeah.
They made a recommendation to the select board and gave you the option of assessing this. However, you can only do it for the current year as an errors and omission. You can't go back into prior
That's
years and open up, wouldn't even want to get into that.
Yeah,
can
no,
of
no.
worms. Go, I guess.
But
But
you
legally, I
we
can't, it's
we
closed
don't
year.
have the authority.
No,
Right,
we
you don't
don't,
have the
this board
authority.
don't have the authority to do what,
So I would,
last year's stuff.
I would make a motion that we respond to her by letter in outlining that we do not have the authority. We may be sympathetic to it, but we don't have the authority to do that. Nor does any other town entity that I know of, or any other town department. I should
I
say.
second
So then, any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Yep.
that.
Okay, so you take care of the letter, or do you want me to write it? All right, then we got a letter from the retreat, basically notifying us that there's going to be an annual ride for heroes, motorcycle ride through Townsend, and thanking us for,
Letting them do it. right?
yeah,
Is
It's
it
a
gonna
state
be-
highway.
No, I will
Yeah.
appreciate the notification. I do.
It is nice,
I
yeah.
know,
The
It's
notes
very
are-
nice, yeah.
August 15th, I believe it is.
August 15th, there'll be several hundred motorcycles coming through town.
About 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning.
But
10:30.
registered vehicle, there ain't much we can do about it.
Don't matter even if it did, I just appreciate
No.
their notification.
I appreciate the notification, yeah. I said, seeing a registered motor vehicle, nothing, not really much we can do.
okay, so the next one on the list is a letter from Walter Meyer about the broken sidewalk in front of the Catholic Church.
Do we have any money in that reserve,
Yes,
sidewalk
we do.
reserve account?
Yes, we do.
That's great,
Yeah.
'cause we put it in like every year, I don't know if we still do that.
Yeah, we actually haven't for a couple of years, but there is money more than enough to pay. It's not, there's not a lot of money in the sidewalk repair fund. It's like 5,000 or 6,000. You're looking at one panel half the size of this table. I mean, essentially.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but there's other places that need
Oh,
repair
yes.
too.
Yes.
Do that?
Yep, you could probably do a $20,000, $30,000 project if you were so inclined
Yeah,
and
but
have
we
the
don't
money.
have that money, right?
No, we don't. And there has been discussion, there have been requests in the past about doing in front of Leland and Gray, which is getting sad.
Yeah.
But Leland and Gray has been, to some degree, charged with responsibility for that, sort of. I mean, some of that is, I'm not sure how that all worked out. But in any case, there is one issue, Walter Meyer is very sensitive to it, there was an incident apparently. But there is one place right up where you drive into Our Lady of the Valley Church, where the sidewalk is very depressed, it is all cracked up. People have got the corner driven out, whatever the circumstances are that have ruined that. But it needs to be broken out. I don't think it needs to be jackhammered, but it needs to be broken out, probably dug out with a backhoe, leveled, tamped down, a form put in and poured. And I honestly don't believe that you need to have a concrete company come in with a 1/10 of a yard of concrete to do it. I think you can mix Sacrete on a decent day in a wheelbarrow and pour it yourself or get somebody to subcontract for the job.
And
But it
it's
should
not-
be hundreds of dollars, not
But it's
anything.
not a job we need to even put out the bid, we could
Oh,
ask.
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have somebody who has some experience in doing that and they pick the right day with the right humidity and the right moisture content.
Well, let's talk to Kurt when he
Ed
comes
Smith
back.
did a repair on the one right here on the corner, did a pretty good job back when. It was a small job, it was only half the size of it. But it's basically one panel. They could all use some maintenance. I mean, I'm not trying to,
No, well,
And
here's
that's
my
part of what-
suggestion, that we do a repair to that piece. And then,
somebody's gonna look at it more qualified than I. I
That's
did
what I'm saying.
Essentially a drive-by, but it does very much need doing, because there are a number of people who access that and use that portion of the sidewalk that may.
so if the highway can look at that and see if they can do a repair, then the follow-up to that is to have Kurt or someone knowledgeable enough to assess to repair that sidewalk from the corner all the way up through, and see what it's gonna cost, and then we can put it in the budget when we do our budgeting process, if that's
You
appropriate.
need to have a proposal
That-
and a plan.
Yes.
Some of that's not too, my phone has been replaced.
Yeah, it has. That's why I said we need somebody to look and see what needs to be done from there up to there. And look and see what it's gonna be in the budget. That's what I would suggest.
Right?
The other thing, if we're talking sidewalks, I know over the past few years, there's been a lot of discussion about doing sidewalks and paths and that sort of thing up 35, up through to at least the Valley Cares and that sort of thing. And I don't know if it's gonna behoove us to perhaps get an engineering firm or somebody that's more knowledgeable and able to see where things stand, if that's possible, if it's not possible. It sticks in my craw a little bit because part of the Valley Cares Act 250 permit was the pathway from Valley Cares down
Grace Cottage.
to Grace Cottage through the Garden Way. And they have failed to live up to that part of the agreement as far as I know. So there is actually an Act 250 permit stating that Valley Cares maintain that walkway between themselves and Grace Cottage. And if they did that, then we may be able to do an expenditure of perhaps beyond that. But I just think that they should live up once again to their part of the bargain that was made way back when.
Oh, just wait until I get you later on that issue.
Okay, give
me now,
I don't care.
No, it's gotta come under the appropriate,
Okay,
There are grants available for sidewalk engineering and studies. This has come before this board in the last year a number of times, and the prior board. There is an encouragement right now for the highway department to level and dress the shoulders by creep, just a few inches at a time as possible. There's a lot of landscaping on that road. There does not seem to be a will to put in a full-fledged sidewalk, but a number of people do walk, as Earth sees, every day.
Yeah,
A number of people do walk that.
Ask me about the same thing when they're gonna put sidewalk.
Yeah, a lot of people walk it at noon. There are alternatives. They choose to walk there, but there are other places to walk.
but we have a Christmas thing park.
The village taxes.
Well,
Nothing does.
okay. Then moving on to the next item that came in, correspondence, is from the state of Vermont, and that concerns the transfer station and the need to have a bin for yard and leaf debris.
Third page, maybe the fourth page, yellow highlight. I highlighted the relevant. Going a couple of pages, you'll see right at the top, a yellow highlight. On your state Department of Natural Resources.
Yeah, transfer station.
Transfer station rules as of July 15. Yeah.
This was, if I may, excuse me, on the front page, just as a matter of the record, that effective July 1st, 2015, recyclable materials are banned from the landfill. That includes paper, cardboard, aluminum, steel, glass, and hard plastics. You can no longer put them in the landfill. They must go in recyclables. All right?
And further down, it will recommend that your transfer station manager log in and
Yes.
have a discussion with, become familiar with these rules and regulations. We can get some signage up, we can encourage people, but it looks like we need to, as I read this, and you guys need to read it, but as I read it, we need to put something physical there for leaf and yard, a small dumpster, a big can. We can make an alternative site available, like the pit, and get away with basically a small table-sized box that people find it convenient to take to the transfer station to dump. And if we have another place that's available, that will act as a pretty good substitute. But we do need to have something apparently, as of, well, right now.
Which brings up a whole other issue.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It's all
It's all
connected.
connected.
It's all connected.
Every bit of it is right.
Basically, one of the issues that we've had is with the attendant at the transfer station. And as this starts to expand and continues to expand, how long, in other words, this should not be on the select board's plate. This should be being handled by the transfer station and the attendant. So,
Well, that's part of his job description that we.
Well, I'm doing your quarterly tonnage reports and your recycling reports now.
And I
It
don't
used to
think
be
we
done
even
in the
got
town
box-
clerks, and it was done by Dick Jackson, and then when there were some changes in personnel, it fell to me somehow, and I was new at the game, and suddenly I took on a lot of it anyway. I've been doing those every month for the last 6 years, or every quarter.
have we even gotten bag counts?
No, Kurt said he wasn't turning them into Kurt wasn't gonna go see if they were in the notebook over there, didn't really understand why that was happening. I believe that Arnold's still continuing, but he hasn't turned those in. I was gonna try to get them this weekend at the end of the month to see where we were, but I didn't get up there because of the fair, and some other obligations. I'll try to get them tomorrow or Wednesday, from Arnold, but more and more, you're gonna need somebody that is not only aware of the rules and regulations and how to enforce, but how to explain them to the people when they come in. That, you know, you're doing a good job and I don't know what's in the bag, but no longer can you have cardboard in that bag. And we do have a recycling bin right here and we'll help you sort or whatever, but the rules and regulations are changing in the state of Vermont. They're tightening up and somebody needs to be alert and responsible and keep better accounting of where we are. The highway department can only oversee it so much from a supervisory role, but you need somebody there that basically is
And the other piece to that is.
not just opening the gate.
Is the state will be doing site visits. They
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about that in here.
There-
I would, think that we should get as many posters as we can. I'm not sure, I was trying to figure out in here if they have handouts you can give one to each time they come in there. And again, that would be Arnold's responsibility, but somehow you have to get the word out what's good and what isn't and what he can do.
Well, it says please find enclosed handout documents, so.
There was nothing enclosed,
There's nothing.
but I can log in, we can get something.
But I think at the very least, it's important that we do that so that we're complying somehow. As far as the yard and leaf thing, I think you gotta make kind of a pit, maybe whether it's down to the pit or up there, I don't care what. Up there, then you're gonna have to handle it again and take it down to the pit anyhow.
My understanding is, and according to this, for smaller transfer stations, you can have simply a can of some sort, like a garbage can or a collection of garbage cans that you can handle, but you need to make available something larger or contract with somebody, a small farm or an individual who has land, for the bulk siting of this. I don't think that many people bring leaves and debris and brush and whatever, but if you give them that opportunity to get rid of brush, they will, especially brush.
But
And that's why I
there
said-
is a corrugated or anything in the bag. According to the regulations, you do not have, that bag is sealed, you do not have to
Open it.
open it to see what's in it.
Right. Yeah.
So anyhow, if we do the handouts, we do our share.
Thank you.
I like the idea of having a place down in the pit somewhere. If you get a brush pile, you can burn it. The only problem with that is you gotta have somebody to watch it, because the next thing is gonna happen is you're gonna have all kinds of doors and lumber and paint and.
I gotta say, you can't
all
just
that
have
kind of
it so that they can go in there and dump, because
So, I don't know what the resolution to that is, unless you wanna make a little pile where, once again, Arnold will have to make sure that it's just brush and leaves, and then come with a payloader and crush it down and.
yeah, but I don't know that so much leaves, it's lawn clippings and stuff, the way I
Well, they're
understand it.
talking leaves.
We're talking leaves.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Yard
Lawn
Leaf
clippings.
yard and clean and wood debris, that's what it says. Because the next thing is composting, you know, all the garbage and trash, you can't do that down there up there, cause you'll have animals and skunks from.
It's coming.
Oh, Jeff, how I agree with you, get out of the trash business.
Well,
Sell our bags first.
when we made the decision, we decided to only try this for a year, so if it becomes unmanageable, we always have the opportunity to discuss it again.
Well, on a serious note, I think that we ought to present it to the town at town meeting. You know, I mean, it's gonna have to be part of our budget, but we also ought to present, you know, ask the town, maybe they wanna get out of the trash business, I don't know.
That's what I've been, you know, that's why I said that, told them last town meeting time, that they ought to be getting out of the trash business, because these regulations are just not gonna go away.
Well, they're gonna require more and more management, and unless you have a transfer, and I'll go on record, unless you have a transfer station that's going to take over that management, or a highway foreman that's gonna oversee a station attendant to take over that management, it's gonna fall in this house, which means it's gonna end up on your table, one way or the other. I mean, these are rules and regulations that are gonna become harder and harder to comply with, or more stringent. And you're gonna have to keep a record at some point of how much leaf and yard waste and how much food waste and calculated, and where is it going to, and are they certified to handle, you know, that kind of thing. And I mean, there's a tremendous need for proper waste management in any society, any community, and it has to be done professionally, it has to be done, and to force people to go to Brattleboro, I don't think is a good service. However, it is an expense, and it's a commitment of labor and time and intelligence and interest and everything else for somebody who needs to plug into it.
Well, I believe Newfane, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Newfane go to private haulers?
That's right, yeah.
So that is just completely off their table. from
Yeah,
the-
they don't do anything, other than have to pay that, assessment.
Yeah,
But as far as handling any of that stuff, they do
They
nothing.
don't, no.
But the private haulers are under increasing regulations to
Absolutely.
sort and, yeah.
I mean, the fact
Account
is,
for
you're
it.
gonna have to pay for it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Pay for one way or the other.
But we was talking at one time about putting a place up this way somewhere with a container that they could pick up their recyclables and unload them and then pick the trash up on the way back, but they was all for it, and then the next thing we knew that the haulers didn't want no part of it.
Didn't wanna make the
No,
round trip kind of come up one way and pick up something and then go back the other way and do it again.
but see, the recyclables, they weren't gonna be able to get a lot of that stuff for income to them.
You know?
okay, so that takes care of the correspondence. No, that comes under down here.
I don't wanna go into executive, I don't know.
Why?
Well,
You're gonna need a recess for 5 minutes. too,
yes,
at
we're
some
gonna
point.
need a recess.
Yeah, I know.
We'll talk
That's-
about it then.
Well, we'll, okay.
Confidential. I'll talk about it at recess.
Okay. So yeah, it's 5 minutes to 9. Why don't we take a recess until 9 o'clock?
Oh, yes, it
Go,
is.
go. Anyway, let's go ahead and call the meeting back to order at 9:02. The next order of business is going to be the net metering agreement update. And as Craig and I told you, we did in fact meet with the attorney and ask some questions. You received a multi-page document in your boxes tonight.
Just came today.
I would request that you take some time between these next two meetings to take a look at this. See what he has to say. You're not going to understand a lot of it, but quite frankly, the recommendations from here, we're gonna have to have a discussion in executive session about. So I'd like for everybody to be prepared, when we come in. The salient points, just so you're aware of it, are on pages, page 2, the official page 2 with page 2 at the top. There's a recommendation section that I've bracketed here in red. Says my recommendation is, you know, that, I think requires action. And then on page 3, you've got the legal issues, the last part of that, starting with because, the last 2 or 3 sentences at the bottom of that page. Again, it's the recommendations of how to deal with certain things that were not done correctly. So I'd appreciate if everybody would take a look at this so we can actually address,
Well, the next step is to have, for you and the attorney to go ahead and do it, I think. That's my, to work that out.
no, because those actually require action on the board's behalf. Both recommendations require action on the board's behalf. And I think, excuse me,
Isn't
I think we need to discuss that in executive session because of the legalities involved.
Contract.
Yeah.
There are implications.
So,
Yeah, but I just think that we do what the attorney tells us to do.
well, yes,
That's
I agree, but I just want, before we go putting it out in the public, that's exactly the direction we're going to
Yeah. One of the other guys in on it too, right? So let's do it, yeah.
go. Okay?
And if
So,
I can just go back one step when you're all set.
yeah, I'm all set with that, thanks.
There were, I apologize, I'm finally during recess there were some posters that came with the Vermont States. We can order more of those if you like them, or get them up or something. They do have handouts, so we can get them from WSWMD or
These are
whoever.
the handouts, I would assume.
Yeah, there's only one as a sample, but
But I
yes.
would order a bunch of them and have Arnold put them out.
Maybe put them out with the bags when we sell
Well,
bags.
anytime you,
Or have Arnold, yeah,
put them out with the bags when we sell
yeah.
them. And also have Arnold give everybody that puts a bag in there to give them one of these.
It's gonna require me to get up.
It's gonna require him to get up, but he's gonna have to get up and
Just
come
kidding.
out of the shed. I mean, we have to, that's the way you're gonna inform the public. And every time somebody comes in to dump stuff off, he hands them one of these. He's gotta get out to count them, the bags anyhow, right?
No,
Yeah,
No, he's asking when they go by,
But
how
like,
many you throw in.
well,
Computers, TVs, stuff like that, you can take them to Jamaica,
Yeah.
they're e-waste.
yeah.
no,
A lot of people don't know that, but we can get those, I think.
Yeah, I can call those in. We can call those in.
All right, so the next thing on the agenda was the officer appointments. I don't believe we have any. We're still
No.
looking for a Wyndham Regional Representative
And locally, Senior Solutions.
and Senior Solutions, that's right, those two. We're still beating the bushes. So if you can beat the bushes harder. Municipal land transfers update. That
one,
was,
sorry.
huh?
No, sorry, I misheard you.
Okay. Anyway, that were the 2 pieces that we accepted the bids on. I've done the research on the Townsend Acres piece. We have all the tax numbers from the years that the town owned it, that we've added into it. We still need the hard numbers. We need the cost of the closing for the attorney. We need the cost of the advertising to list it for sale. We need,
Joe, you can get that, right?
I'll get bills from the closing and the tax sale, from the reformer.
yeah. Well, we can get them, but my point is we haven't added those in yet.
Yeah, even one that, we have sold, you can still, you can know what the last year, somewhere you should be able to find the last year for a parcel of land that was, somebody paid taxes on it, or if they didn't, or went to taxes.
We know exactly when it went to tax sale, and I've done the research. I spent 2 days here. going through the old tax records, going through the grand list, trying to figure out how much it was worth at any given time, because you're talking almost 20 some odd years.
Yeah, and then in the middle of that, we split to a different
Fiscal year,
fiscal
so
year
there
from a
was a
calendar year,
half
so you had
year.
3 quarter or whatever.
So
Year and a half.
it was a challenge, but I do have the tax numbers, but we haven't put the hard numbers together. And we need to talk to the attorney to find out what the closing costs are going to be to do the quick claim deed, et cetera, to get this property transferred. And then we'll get this sale completed on both pieces of property. So it's just an update. Most of the hard work's been done at this point in time.
And there's no hurry from the buyers on that, but it'll probably happen this month.
Okay, now's my turn to run my mouth. Valley Cares Community Development Grant closing. Is anybody on this board aware of the fact that for the next 35 years, we have to annually file financial statements in conjunction with the town of Townsend on that grant?
I know, we tried staying away from grants in the past because of the stuff that you have to file and stuff and be audited and all kinds of stuff.
Well, we went through the audit process, and I have, since the day I was elected, I've had to deal with the state over Valley Cares. And we just received another go-around of, you didn't do this, and get this filed yesterday. And it appears, from what we've been able to ferret out thus far, that somebody from the town of Townsend for the next 35 years has to file Valley Cares financial statements.
And Valley Cares will pay all of your administrative fees and everything that is connected with that.
Unfortunately, the fees and the connected to that falls to the chair of the select board, who doesn't get to charge for those type of things.
No, it falls to the administrative assistant, who does get paid for those types of things.
Yeah, I don't know if the fees run for the next 30 years, because there were administrative costs
That's right.
that were built in that were paid for with the audit, and our costs, for administrating the grant, so to speak. Those were passed, because this took 2 years to hammer out. You were here, and David, and you lawyers and everybody else, we had some big expenses.
Yep.
And we got through the audit last March, and that was completed and closed out, and we got our administrative costs out of that. What's happening now is that they give us about 36 hours notice that something is due on July 30th or something from the state level, that this grant is a continuing thing. It goes on, it's a 30-year grant. 40-year grant, excuse me, and that we still have 38 and a half years yet to go, and somebody needs to fund, and it takes time to do it. It's complicated. Valley Cares has been willing to send personnel in to assist and to help, but still somebody physically here, and it's not your financial officer or your administrative assistant, that somebody has to be able to log in who is ultimately responsible, and that is, right now, the chair of the board. You're in the system, Hetty's in the system, David Isendorf's in the system, Steve Umden's in the system, I'm in the system, Kim has been in the system, not sure that Chris ever logged in, but basically it flows uphill. And Kathy has dealt with this for many, many months, and they haven't been pleasant to deal with.
And so we're back again to needing to file something else that I have to get into a system and push a button and certify, which they already have the information, they received it with the audit, but there seem to be multiple layers within the state government that you have to certify these financial statements for, which requires somebody that's logged into the system to go in and click the button.
He's logged in.
You can do that. The worst of it is that
And he can get reimbursed for it.
the worst of it is that it's kind of a sham, because you're validating, you're verifying that Valley Cares is solvent,
Yep.
and you haven't got a clue. And yes, we do get the audit reports, but they're like our own. They're 140 pages long, they're done by professional, and nobody's gonna read them and find out, where they are financially in that sense. So you're just doing it to get it over with.
So what happens if we don't have it?
You get nasty little emails.
We'll get a bill for 650 grand. Because
That's true too.
yeah. Essentially,
We're
we're
responsible for that
accountable for the
money.
bill. The loan was made to, the grant was given to us. We, in turn, gave it to Valley Cares. The state wants us to continue to monitor how they're doing with that for the next 38 and a half years. And that's a very long-term obligation. I'm not gonna be around. That's a very long-term obligation.
Guarantee you, I won't.
Yeah. But I do agree with her. These grants are, I get emails at least 3 or 4 times a week on these little grants that are available for this kind of engineering study or
Oh,
that
no,
kind
I never
of,
liked
or the
grants.
paving grant.
Yeah.
The paving grant, and you will be accounting for that paving grant for the next 18 months.
Any grants you get.
Yep,
Yeah.
there are strings attached.
When Tish always was a grant person, I
Yeah.
understand, but there's miles and miles afterwards, I do understand that. Let me chew on this one in my head a little bit, because I'm not so sure.
It's a back office
Oh.
responsibility. You need somebody who understands that
Yeah,
and
yeah.
can process them clearly, cleanly, responsive. Even if somebody who you've hired
Well, even
that
in
is
the book, in the book.
up the chain, even if it is the treasurer or the chair of the select board or me or somebody who actually goes to the computer when it's logged in and pushes the button and has the authority to do that. You need somebody to do the preliminary, which is the hour, 2 hours, 10 hours, 3 weeks, whatever, that it takes to do the prep work, which is what Kathy is right now doing.
Let me chew on this one a little bit though. But I think we authorize you to do it because I know we can get reimbursed for you doing it. We cannot get reimbursed for Kathy doing
Nope, and I can show you the emails going back to day one, and I've gotten sucked into this, because it all revolved around Hetty, and when she left the board, she gave them my name, and suddenly I was in the middle of it, and it was downhill.
it. Okay.
Okay?
How nice.
No, isn't it though? FEMA update.
I don't have one. We are awaiting some documents from People's Bank in order to satisfy a request for FEMA that is, from my last email, last understanding, pretty ready to close out the East Hill project. It's still a work in process, but we are now waiting for documentation. Anita has ordered it twice. But that should be forthcoming hopefully this week. And it's coming from Newfane, so hopefully,
Wouldn't it be nice to actually have that money 5 years later, 6 years later? Maybe 7.
well, we're not gonna tell anybody, because
Sweet.
we already accounted for it 5 or 6 years
I know
ago
we did.
apparently, many times.
Yep.
All right, moving on to new business, you have a request from the listers on E&Os. The first one being Thomas Chase. And that was to reduce the value of the property from 69.3 to 68,000. Basically at the demand or by statute, it should not have gone up, and it did.
But it says, let me just read the letter, that the Chase valuation increased this year from 68,000 to 69,300. However, the current board has no knowledge of the change. How can, somebody's gotta know how that changes. It doesn't just,
What the board, what the listers are saying is that Robin O'Neill apparently changed it, and they were unaware of that. I mean, let's cut the brass tacks, it's after 9. That's what they're saying, and it needs to be changed back. The document I gave you is the legal document as a result of the tax hearing, and that bars any changes for essentially 3 years. The year it was done for and 2 years subsequent.
So by law, it can't.
all right, and I understand that.
Okay.
I mean, it continues to be.
This reappraisal is
The
continuing to haunt.
reappraisal will haunt. That reappraisal, that false reappraisal that we paid very, very dearly for at the insistence of the Board of Listers
All of them.
to hire that person
Yep.
to do the reappraisal will haunt us for many years to come.
And it costs us, because
It
there's an awful
costs
lot,
us a
a
lot
lot
of
of
money.
labor to clean it up.
And now you gotta clean it up.
Yeah, but this year, how come it changed this year?
Because the reappraisal that was done increased it based on nothing. The reappraisal firm, if I remember right, assured us that they would visit each property. We received complaints from numerous people that they did not do that. They sat there and changed figures, and they probably just come along to this one and changed it. There's no knowledge of the
Yeah,
change.
when was it changed?
Doesn't say. This year.
Yeah, this year there's no.
Chase valuation increased this year from 68 to
Yeah,
69.
somebody got, no.
The current board has no knowledge of the change.
Well, who changed it? Somebody in that board had to.
Yeah.
But the board shouldn't change anything without a quorum, recording the change and signing off on it, and that has not been the practice in that office
The listers
forever.
board does not keep minutes of meetings, does not keep any written.
So virtually any lister can go into the computer and change anyone's appraisal without anybody else knowing about it.
Which is what's happened here.
Which is
And that's what they're alluding to
They're
here.
supposed to be keeping minutes.
You're preaching to the choir.
Huh?
I said, you're preaching to the choir. We've been fighting this battle for,
Well,
Yeah, I know.
But there's supposed to be, right, a discussion on the salient points and then a quorum vote that says, yes, we're gonna do this, and somebody just writes it in a
Why?
notebook somewhere.
Yes.
Why? Right. Apparently this escaped that system of oversight and documentation. It was elusive, it slipped through.
so we really have no
you
choice
don't
but
have
to
a
change
choice.
this.
You have to approve the errors and omission request.
So I would entertain a motion on parcel 05025-100.
What happens if we don't approve it?
It has to be changed anyway, the state will mandate
Then,
it,
yeah, but then they'll get sued, right? I mean,
probably.
because
So I can
somewhere
get-
along the line, we're gonna get sued, so maybe we wanna get it done and over with, so they can do a reappraisal correctly on all the property.
This
Yeah,
particular.
this isn't a
The listers
reappraisal.
or whatever, I don't know.
This particular one, we can't argue with. We have a legally binding document here that
I
says we
understand
have to.
that. I understand that.
But it's not a reappraisal. I mean, this is just the ordinary day-to-day work that's screwing up.
And I can pretty much guarantee you this, if this does not get corrected, we're going to have many visits from the property owner.
Yeah.
And you can run the meetings, that will be fine. I will be busy.
I think it belongs on the lap of the board of listers.
Well, and they have discovered the issue
They
because
discovered the issue,
property owner
we're
did
the
come
ones
in.
we gotta do the.
And they're basically barred from doing anything but leaving it back where it belongs, according to the court hearing.
So, again, I would entertain a motion to change the value on property 05025-100 from 69.3 to 68,000.
No,
Is there a second? Oh, this is cute. I'll second it. Now the discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the E&O for property ID number 05025-100 by changing the amount from 69.3 to 68,000, signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed?
All right.
And a tiebreaker won't work.
The tiebreaker won't work.
Because it's
Then
So it's
It's a
done.
quorum call.
It
You don't
died.
have a quorum present.
It died right there.
So, fails for.
It didn't happen.
I'm gonna sit here and click my darn pen, Richard.
Property valuation and review will change it. But it leaves the town in a questionable position.
Yeah,
Oh, this is gonna be interesting.
it leaves the town open for lawsuit.
Well, I think if, I don't know if we're beyond the discussion
But maybe
stage.
some research
Maybe
will
you
find
can't
out why it
discuss
got
it afterwards, I mean,
But maybe research will find out why it got changed in the first place, because that, if changes have been made of which the listers are unaware, this may not be the only one.
That's true too.
So this may open up an inquiry into a spot check.
I don't know if it's appropriate to do discussion after vote, is it? mean,
I don't know,
is
because
that-
we don't really know where we're going
Well,
with this,
I mean,
so.
one of the reasons I didn't vote for it is because it just keeps happening and happening and happening and happening, and I think somehow, somewhere, we have to get the focus back onto the lister's office and see why they're not keeping records, why they're not keeping minutes, how changes happen without anybody's knowledge, how are we gonna crack? I believe this is the tip of the iceberg. It just seems to continually go like that, and we go, yep, okay.
Ask how far over budget they were last year.
How far over budget were the listers last year?
It was many thousands in the wages, and the justification was there was an awful lot of cleanup to do from reappraisal. There were a lot of places that did not get looked at during reappraisal, and a lot of them that were assessed, a lot of them that were simply assessed in the room, so to speak, based on data, but not by, boots on the ground, so to speak.
I mean, it just continues, it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on.
And I think it's gonna be around for a few years.
I think it's gonna be around for a few years more too, until the town coughs up another 100,000
We have that.
ready to do another reappraisal by the same firm or whatever, I don't know. I'm not happy.
Okay, then we have another one. And this is two parcels to Michael Donahue and to Kate Curley.
But the
No,
names were,
Michael Donahue.
names were recorded differently on contiguous parcels apparently.
Right, one's under Robert Michael Donahue.
Is that the one and the same person?
If it's not, it can't be.
Mike supplied some background material that the listers did anyway. I'm not certain what's in there because I didn't review it. I thought this was a very simple one, or supposedly it was a simple one. Take a look at it.
I mean, it's the same thing, the transfer is done by a past lister and nobody knows and nothing, no information was shared and.
Well, it's funny because everything I've got in my hand, every one of them that's been highlighted says Robert Michael Donahue. So it's not a name issue.
It's not a name
I
issue
thought it was a
according.
name issue.
What it
Well-
says what it says.
Yeah, that's.
Whereas R. Michael Donahue,
Right. Transfer was done by past lister, the name was only listed as Robert Donahue, whereas all other transfers were put as R. Michael Donahue. This past lister shared little information with the rest of the board, otherwise we would have noticed the error. Well,
all these deeds are,
there should be,
Robert Michael Donahue.
there should be one that's Robert, and all the others
They're
are
all
Michael.
Robert, every one of them is Robert Michael Donahue. Each one.
Okay, parcel number 050, you want span number 10309 and 10354.
And it says, and I'm not sure, it says the owner, Mike Donahue, not Michael Robert
Right.
Donahue, and Kate Curley. Oh, Kate Curley is
for
the
the
Vermont Current News,
right.
okay. All right.
So in other words, they're supposed to be contiguous. And they're not listed as contiguous. So in other words, they should be under the 05038 parcel number because it's considered one, and then this second parcel, 05039, should be inactives.
It should just be a name, a title problem.
Well, you
And
come up
assignment.
with,
No, I
you
didn't
come
look
up
at
with these,
those.
and
I-
every one of
they-
them says Robert Michael Donahue. Every one of them.
Oh.
That's 8, that's 39, that's 35. These are all different parcels.
Well, maybe you're gonna have to get more information from the listers.
I don't know.
I
Don't
tried
we
that,
have
but
an
didn't
issue,
work.
don't we have an issue pending?
You have an issue that's gone because you didn't have the information. You requested it be tabled until such time as the listers came and established the case
Yes.
in front of you.
Yes.
The listers never wanted to establish that case. They put it up for you to deny,
They,
essentially. And
So the
you're
listers,
the scapegoat of what, it never went.
so in other words, the listers aren't going to come in and explain any of the actions.
It wasn't so much that, they wanted the outcome that you provided them, is my understanding on it. They did not want you to approve it anyway, but they put it through because they didn't want to deal with the individual who was complaining in a hard way. That's your job.
Yeah.
So they said, sure, we'll take it upstairs, and
Who I think it is, he's an attorney anyway.
I don't care.
so what's your pleasure on this request? See, because I'm very confused. I don't have supporting documentation that shows this as being an error. It's very clearly not a contiguous parcel, because it's got two separate parcel numbers.
I would,
But if they're not listed under the same name,
but
somebody.
they're not. I mean, this.
Yeah, no, that's what I say.
What the listers have provided us with under errors and omissions does not match up with the deeds in there.
There's 38,
Yep. does
there's
not-
parcel
I mean,
38, there's Robert Michael Donahue, there's 39, Robert Michael Donahue.
what do we get? 05308, it's under 5.
And I don't know where the 3502 came from, because that's not even in consideration.
See, it says it's listed as Robert Donahue, it doesn't say Robert Michael Donahue. So they want us to approve contiguous properties for Robert Donahue, not Robert Michael Donahue as it's, and I know it's splitting hairs, but it's still,
Yeah, but I don't see just Robert.
I don't either, that's what I'm saying. So they're asking us to approve, to correct something into something that's not correct. Yeah, blue sky, bay, right? They're asking us to
That's
do
right,
Robert
yeah.
Donahue, not Robert Michael Donahue.
Because who the hell knows, it could be a whole different person. What the deed say.
Right. So, if you were looking up an O2, you'd look under 2. If you were looking up an 4, you'd look under 4. If you were looking up a 5.
There's nothing in. There's nothing in there.
I didn't say that.
I did.
So, I mean, Joe can get a tax book and see who it's charged out to, but I should be on guard here.
I make a motion that we table this request until such time that the listers would be willing to come in and explain to us the differences or the confusion in this errors and omissions request.
And I leave out until they come in?
Second.
That's fine to me.
I mean, until there is clarification on this issue.
Yep.
I mean, okay. So,
Is there any further discussion? You could be just,
No, I mean,
I'm gonna have all kinds of friends in here tomorrow. Thank you, guys.
Geez, so. Anyway, there's
All those in
one
favor,
thing right behind the other in there.
all those in favor of tabling the request for an E&O on parcel number 05038 and 05039, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion is tabled. Okay. You might want to keep that as your document.
count goes in the envelope.
Oh.
No, you can have that if you want. Okay.
All right. Hopefully, one of the last things on the agenda, if we're feeling lucky, are the town common trees update. And we did in fact receive a letter from Bartlett Tree. And I believe we've already had them come and fertilize the trees. But
This
they,
year?
I believe they've already done the
They
first,
were contracted to do that, I don't believe, we have not gotten a bill yet, I don't believe that is.
they haven't done it, okay. But we'd already made the decision to have them fertilized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was an inspection done of the trees because we had some questions about a couple of them. And you'll find the recommendation, there at the bottom of what they would like to do to the different trees. With an estimate of $4,410 to do all of the work.
There are a dozen trees on the common, 10 of them need some serious work.
They do need serious work.
10 of them do. One of them needs to be, probably replaced, but of the 12, but 10 of them need some serious pruning work, and this is what that is reflective of. It has been a number of years since they were.
But when you talk with him about I know which one absolutely needs replacing.
Yep.
And when I looked at them others, I didn't even know if they can be saved, and he thought they can save them? 'Cause
Some
my
of
only
them
concern-
are going to take a series of prunings, because you can't get, some of them need some structural pruning, others need, well, there's a shaping, you can only cut back so much. It's not like you're gonna do 25%, 25 over 4 years, but there is a plan to basically save all of those trees.
One tree said was, well, according to that thing, it was beyond saving it.
The one by the elementary school
Yeah.
stairs,
Yeah.
it's in like a caliche. It's a very hard pack, kind of
Oh, yeah.
gravelly, very little, is growing there. They've tried to aerate the soil, they've fertilized it in the past. It's had its issues. There are 2 trees that have some insect damage, but it's not extensive at this point, but they'd like to further assess that. But the trees are growing gnarly on the inside. Structurally, to bring them back is gonna take some time, but they're looking at a fairly, extensive pruning regimen, which isn't gonna be too drastic on any one given tree, but it's gonna be extensive for all of them through time. And basically, they can approach that right now. A couple of the trees are at risk. A couple of the bigger ones are at risk.
No,
We
I
had a good-
mean,
we had a good conversation for about an hour and a half, and Jeremy did,
you see, we,
and they're all gotta be climbed.
Yeah.
They're not bucket tree
Well,
work, it's,
we done, to replace some of them were pretty good trees, and
Well, again.
the ground was hard back in too.
Yeah, but.
well, the ground has gotten compacted, salt has taken a toll. I mean, there's no question about that.
I think, you gotta try to save them. It's gonna cost you a ton of money to replace them. You can't have the bear come and I
These-
I
There's
think,
I didn't read the fine details in all of this. There was a recommendation that the sod be removed around the trees in a circle and some bark mulch put in. And they indicated the highway crew could do it, and I indicated if the highway crew were charged with doing it, they'd do it with a backhoe.
yeah.
But that you may wanna
No, get into.
put a perimeter around there to
Get into
retain
the
moisture,
roots and
but
stuff.
mostly to keep, well, what's happening now is you've got the lawnmower girdling the trees, because he's clipping the root tops where they're coming out of the ground, but he's also cutting in with the edge of the,
We
that's,
run into that same problem before.
and if there's a perimeter around the tree, if just bark mulch or something, get rid of the sod first.
This doesn't address that.
Okay, but that was not something they were going to do, that was something that the town crew could do. And I indicated, well, we may want to check that out before we have them going with the
We
backhoe.
ran into that same problem a few years ago. The lawnmowers and the trimmers and everything was,
All right, I've got a couple of issues there. Number one, you said in the common fund there's only 5,200 left?
I will, I actually have the document here
Just
somewhere.
roughly.
Yeah, it's 55, let's say.
5,500,
Yeah, it is more than this estimate.
but we've spent that common fund to death, and number one, I think that we need to do this. We gotta take care of the trees and try to save them.
no,
But I think that when we do our budget this year, here's another budget issue, that we ought to somehow bolster up the common fund. Or do a line item like we used to before the television money, that
Yeah.
television money's gone. Funny farm money, we always
Yeah,
called
funny
it.
farm, yeah.
The funny farm money's pretty well gone.
Yeah, we used to.
Secondarily, I would say that we insist use minimal salt. I know it's a school area and buses come around there, but use minimal salt and to, remove the snowbanks with the loader and stuff instead of pushing the
Trucking
salt.
it.
Truck the banks away rather than pushing it up on the common. And I don't know how that's all gonna coordinate, but
Yeah, I don't, we used,
I hate to put $5,000 into the trees, then have them plow 8 tons of salt or 80
Yeah,
tons of salt up
it
there.
always,
You have-
always
you
used
have
to
one
be
of
trucked
these, but That's
away.
what we put in last year, is 1,000 toward the trees.
Yeah,
So that's current, you have that available
yeah.
as soon as Joe collects the taxes, but that's in this year's budget, so that helps a little bit.
Thank you.
So we always used to truck that, salt, snow away.
Yeah,
We didn't push it out on the common.
I think we have to.
This
They
is-
do, I mean, I know that needs salt and sand, but I've seen it there when you could take a wheelbarrow and scoop up a pretty good half a pickup load of salt laying there on that road. I know they do.
It's just excessive.
So we haven't seen the bill yet on the feeding, so do you
I
remember the
don't believe the
estimate?
feeding has been done.
Do you remember the estimate?
Yes, it's $600.
Yeah.
They do that.
That
and
is-
that's- yeah.
So I make a motion that we contract with Bartlett Tree and Chubb as outlined here, not to exceed $4,410, and to authorize Craig to coordinate that work.
Is there a
Yeah,
second?
I second it. That'd be ideal, because there's no, when the school's not going
Yeah,
on.
They will have this done this month.
Yeah.
They'll have it
Yeah,
done.
no, but I
before.
say,
Yeah.
that's what we used to run into,
Yeah.
when school was keeping.
They're pretty aware, they've always worked.
They always worked with us, good, yeah. But I say, just make sure before school starts.
Well, yeah, and actually, when I talked to Jeremy, he indicated that he might have been able to be here this week, but then there was the fair. And they were setting up for the fair when we were out there a week ago and, driving all over the place with the booth stuff.
So
But I say,
basically,
just on, get done before school starts.
Yep.
all those in favor of approving the agreement with Bartlett Tree to take care of the trees on the common, not to exceed $4,410, signify by saying aye.
Right.
Opposed, abstentions, the motion passes. Do you have a clean copy of the contract?
I do. And I also have a stamped envelope that they provided for us.
I know that you're very, very busy. Boy, if you wash that coffee pot, it might help. Next week, I'm bringing my thermos.
They have an interest in doing this for us, so I think they'll get right to it.
They've always worked well with us.
Yep.
I think, and they've treated us
Well,
decent.
Treated us
Jeremy
right.
remembers the trees. He
Yeah.
says, "Oh, geez, I climbed that when I was a kid." You know, kinda. I mean, they've got a history for it with us here. So,
Alrighty, is there any other business?
No other business, I move if we adjourn.
Okay, all those.
there is a rescue meeting on the 13th. Select board members are invited to in Brattleboro. I assume that's at the District 1.
No,
it isn't.
that's actually down in,
Where was it? I got it.
it's down at the Flat Street Training Center.
Yep.
And the next meeting is the 17th here at the moment, and I'll let you know if anything comes up between now.
Basically, the rescue meeting is to go over some of the issues that are facing emergency services and what we might expect
In the way out.
in the near future.
Near future of needs for financing.
No,
Huh?
well, it depends. Ask the federal
This is
government.
what you get?
I know.
Oh, that's it. They're getting hit with regulations, this thing's out
Oh,
there.
they're getting hammered.
You're still.
No, but I say, just like
I told her to
everything.
make one for you. This was a concern you needed.
They're still getting
Those
hammered.
property taxes received. That's not the way,
so-
but, I'm sorry, we are.
I thought we adjourned because I asked all of them favors and they said yes, and you're
Oh.
not paying attention.
I
So all those in favor of adjourn,
Aye, aye.
Irv did.
Right,
It's
Irv did.
unbelievable.